Hey everybody, it's time for Turn It On. Are you ready?
Coming to you from Music City,
Nashville, Tennessee.
the definitive arts and entertainment podcast.
Hello everyone, welcome to another fun-packed episode of my brand new show, Turn It On. My name is Michael J, and if you're new listeners, welcome, and if you've been here before, welcome back. We're only several episodes in at this point, and already things seem to be picking up speed. Certain elements are coming into focus for me little by little now, and it's actually starting to feel kind of like a real show, at least to me anyway. This is a music-based podcast primarily, but I'm striving to avoid making it entirely about music. I want the show to be less about the formal interview and more about what other kinds of things we can get to happen when we just throw the script away and have a conversation about whatever comes to mind. Timing and chemistry. These two elements have already come up multiple times over the course of about the dozen or so conversations I've had that you'll eventually get to hear. Timing is everything, as they say, not only in music but in life. And chemistry is something altogether more mysterious. It's that X factor that raises certain television programs and films to a level beyond comprehension and allows you to suspend your disbelief and almost live inside the characters. And chemistry is the reason why we have bands like the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, U2, that not only create soundtracks to our lives, but allow us to almost have visceral experiences when we listen. Chemistry in life is meeting someone who, from the very first second you see them, changes the temperature of the room and of your heart. And it's innately knowing at that first second that you've experienced someone who's going to be a significant person in your life and not really being able to explain how or why. If you're lucky, or better yet, if you're observant, you've all experienced this in some way, either in your friendships, your work environments, or your romantic lives. At the end of the day, that's the really important stuff. My guest on the podcast today is a longtime friend of mine, a great, multi-talented, and incredibly sweet guy named Steve Schiltz. And he's no stranger to good timing and chemistry in his professional life. He's arguably my most successful friend and was at the top of my list of people to talk to when I started this show, so I'm absolutely thrilled that he agreed to do it. I met Steve when he was only 14 years old, and he used to come see my band Exploding Boy play, and we were so blown away by his guitar playing, even back then, that we used to let him get up and play songs with us at our shows. It was really clear, even back then, to everybody around that his talent was really special and that it wouldn't be long before he was going to some pretty cool places. Steve moved to New York City and played with a major label act called Scout, which was fronted by an incredibly talented woman named Ashton Kellen, who I've also done some work with. He then started and fronted his own great indie rock band called Longwave that's signed to RCA Records for a number of years. And after literally circling the country and the globe, Longwave took a bit of a hiatus. And during that time, Steve did a record entirely by himself in his bedroom on a MacBook and called the project Hurricane Bells. One of those Hurricane Bells songs, called Monsters, ended up being chosen for the Twilight New Moon soundtrack and was the first song to play in the film as well. Aside from Longwave and Hurricane Bells, Steve has also played guitar for people like Albert Hammond Jr. of The Strokes and James Iha of the Smashing Pumpkins, and has literally toured the world opening for bands like OK Go and Coldplay, among countless others. His latest project is a band called Harvard of the South, or HOTS as he calls it, with Justin and Jeremy Furstenfeld and Matt Noveski of the band Blue October. And this episode is jam-packed with music from Steve's illustrious career. I took a trip back home for the holidays to my hometown of Rochester, New York, and Steve just happened to be in town at the same time. So we got together at his mother's house there in the basement, among various pieces of musical gear and a bunch of Longwave memorabilia, and sat down, and it was amazing to catch up with my old friend and thrilling to hear him tell some of the stories about how he got to where he is today. So let's get to it. Here's my talk with my good friend, Steve Schiltz. I've been single for 2 years.
Really?
Yeah.
How's that?
How is that?
Yeah.
It's been interesting.
Well, I have a friend. He moved there a couple years ago, and he's single. I think he's still single. He was with a girl for a while down there, and things were great. But then they split up, And so he was newly single in Nashville, and I just assumed, man, you got to be killing it down there, right? Like, imagine, like, you were in this long-term relationship, and then you're newly single in a new city. Like, aren't you, And he said the same thing. So, really, everybody knows each other, first of all.
Sure. Yeah. And you're working for people.
Yeah.
Or they're in the business. And
or even if they're not, he just said it's like it's not like New York. I mean, even New York can be a small town in a way, like with your individual circles of spheres of friendship colliding. But he said he had a really hard time, and he just kind of backed out, like thinking, I'm not going to go out to the bar. I'm not going to like try to go home with this chick or something because she knows this person, that person.
Yeah.
It's more like a small town than he wanted in that respect.
Right.
But he did say that it was all like beautiful Southern girls.
Oh God, there are so many.
He described it like, okay, well,
there's a lot of beautiful people in Nashville, man. There's
sure.
like it runs the gamut, but it's and everybody does kind of know everybody else. But a lot of these girls most of them are married. Over the past 2 years of being single,
Southern thing, like they marry young or something?
They marry young, or they're very religious, and they I don't know if that's a thing. I don't know if that's what I'm taking from it, but yeah, I've met like almost every single beautiful girl I've met over the last 2 years was like either married or in a very serious relationship, and they don't mess around. It's like that. I would expect them to. Hey, cheat on your boyfriend with me, or
no, of course.
But yeah, it's a difficult place to be single. It's very, very difficult, especially being a musician and being single.
I wonder how it would compare to being in L.A., because L.A. seems also very difficult to me. New York is comparatively kind of easy. I mean, I haven't been single in a long time.
Well,
but I've had 2 periods in my life in New York where I was single, and it was relatively easy because you just go. There are neighborhoods you can go walk from bar to bar and go out and see this band or this thing, do this thing. And like in LA, you're out there and you go up, you probably have to make a plan to meet somebody. But even if you don't, you want to move, like everyone's got to get in their little car and go somewhere, and you're going to lose that person, or that person's going to go home.
Sure. I was in New York was really difficult though, like as far as meeting people.
I never had a problem, but it was mostly because
you're so suave and
this would have been after I was there for a few years. It's the only place that I know where you can go out. And it's a Tuesday night, and you go out in the East Village, and you go out with your buddy, and then you might run into someone else like, wow, okay, but maybe your friend goes home, but now you're going, let's go to this place. So it's right down there.
It's
And so you go around there, and then like there's someone else there that you, oh wow, I haven't seen you in forever,
Well, home, I don't know why.
What's the music scene like there now? Is there any?
Oh, it beats me, man. I'm a little out of it. I mean, I think in New York, it's there's a lot of money changing things right now.
Yeah.
Especially like in our neighborhood, we live in Williamsburg, Brooklyn.
Okay.
I don't know if you know.
I don't. I'm not familiar with where that is. But.
Well, so the East Village is in Manhattan.
Okay.
And so that was in the 80s or something. It was a dump. It was old tenement buildings.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where artists and musicians and people would find cheap places to live.
Right.
And then somewhere around the time I moved to New York in the late 90s, in the turn of the 2000. That started getting like, when I first moved to New York, you didn't go to this one area of the East Village. Like I remember walking there with a guitar once and kind of really feeling like not safe.
Yeah.
But that changed. And then just, people started developing that. People get moved east, and then they ended up in Williamsburg and Brooklyn, which is my story too.
Sure.
And then what happened in Williamsburg was they rezoned. I don't know, do you want to hear all this shit?
Yeah.
So they rezoned the. It's right by the water. So right over the river, the East River from Manhattan is Williamsburg, Brooklyn. And originally it was all warehouses and all just like empty, bombed out spaces.
Right.
Which was perfect to have a band rehearsal room.
Yeah.
So that's where Longwave would have. We had a few different rehearsal spaces in Williamsburg, and it was cheap as shit. It was really cheap. We had this big fucking 1,000 square foot rehearsal space for, I don't know, $500 or $600 a month.
Really?
And then over time, more people started coming into the neighborhood. And then what really happened was, I think in 2005, the mayor rezoned the neighborhood.
Okay.
So all the commercial buildings that couldn't be residential before were now, you could make residential buildings there.
Wow, okay.
So they knocked down a ton of shit. There's the whole area by the water that looks like the boardwalk in Baltimore or something.
Really?
Now.
Okay.
Totally different neighborhood.
So it's all like
but it's the same neighborhood
stuff now, and like that kind of thing.
Huge, like 25, 30-story condo buildings.
See, I always pictured New York City like you'd have to have like 10 roommates and live in a
That's
one little...
because there's no money. Like, so what happened is like now those buildings, a lot of them are occupied either by like finance guys or
Right.
Hedge fund type people, or it's people that don't even live in New York, like people from Dubai.
Oh, okay.
They'll buy these like $1 million condos,
right?
And just someone will manage it for them, rent it out, and they just hold on to it, and then it's a great investment of their money.
Sure.
But that doesn't really make it easier for someone, like a musician,
right?
So the way we work it out is we have a rent stabilized apartment.
Oh,
we've been there forever.
Okay,
not forever, but years. But if we end up moving, it's daunting for sure. So you asked about the music situation. It was definitely easier from what I remember back when I first moved there.
What prompted you to move to New York City? Like, why New York City? Was it?
Oh man,
what was the choice there?
Well, you're from here.
Well, yeah, no, I get it, but like, why not Los Angeles or somewhere else? Like,
I had a girlfriend, so she moved to New York to go to NYU, and I was either going to go to Boston or New York. I don't know why I didn't think of LA. It seemed too far away.
Yeah.
I'd never been to LA before, but I had this idea of what LA was in my mind. I didn't want to go there, and I had the idea of what New York was, and I wanted to go there.
Right.
And so I've considered Boston for a minute, and I think I applied to the Berklee College of Music, but I never went. And I actually got a rejection letter from them, even though I never went. And it said, "Good luck with all your musical endeavors. We're really sorry to inform you that we won't be accepting you into our college."
It's probably the best rejection letter you could have ever gotten.
I have it somewhere.
Yeah, but I mean, so
I moved to New York to like start a band.
So you had the idea to start a band when you were there, like
I don't know when. I think I first wanted to play guitar. I played in Scout. It was my first band. I played in, and then. Pretty soon after that, I got the idea, like, I could probably do this too. But it wasn't like instead of. It was like I was still playing in Scout, and I didn't book any shows where Scout played, because I was very respectful of Scout. So Longwave played in the worst places.
How did you hook up with Scout?
Ashen.
How did you meet Ashen? Yeah.
Well, Ashen, I met Nigel was the name of the drummer in Scout, and Nigel and my roommate in Queens worked together at a video store.
Okay.
And they were miserable.
Yeah. And
I knew Brian was my roommate's name. Brian would just come home and say, this guy make me laugh all day, and he's crazy. We worked this shitty job.
Yeah.
And I was a guitar player, and I think he told Nigel, like, my new roommate is a pretty good guitar player. Yeah. And they never had a guitar player. They had a succession of really bad guitar players. One guy, they tell all these stories. One guy would play only barefoot and had his pedals on top of his amp, and he would hit his pedals with his hand.
Seriously?
But he also had a beer next to the pedals, so the beer would always spill, and it was a mess. So these are the kind of people they would have in their band.
That's crazy.
And I came along, and I was like 8 years younger than anybody, maybe 10 years younger than everybody else in the band. And I was just serious.
Were they signed at that point?
No. Well, no. Ashen had a deal for her publishing with Chrysalis.
Okay.
But they were already doing better than any other band I had. I played with a band called Magnet for a minute. Magnet was produced by Dan Wilson's brother, the other guy from Trip Shakespeare.
Okay.
And they had Mo Tucker from Velvet Underground playing drums.
Wow.
So I played in that band for one show, and then I played in a few like quick things like that.
Right.
But Scout was easily like the best, and they had that song. Ashen had that song, "All I Want Is You." Do you remember that song?
Yeah.
Like, I heard that song and I thought, this is. You can tell right away. This is better than anything else I'm playing.
It's pretty easy, isn't it? When something is the real thing, you go. Yeah, it's like a light bulb goes off. You're like, wow, that's it.
Right. So I had that, and I thought I got and I said, who is this band, Brian? He said, this is the guy I work with at the video store. So I went and I tried out, and that was it. I just started playing with him. One of the first gigs was at Irving Plaza, opening for Sunny Day Real Estate, which is a big place, like 1,400 people. Yeah. And then
there was Nate from the Foo Fighters was in that band.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then there was like we did a tour down. All of a sudden, the stuff started happening, and then we at one point had Elton John interested in the band. Elton John had a record label called Rocket.
Yeah.
And Rocket. You would know some of the people they put out, but I can't remember them now. Uh-huh. But it was a serious thing. I think it was probably a pet label for him, and there were people running it, obviously.
Right.
But apparently, Sir Elton had heard "All I Want Is You," and he just really was into this band Scout. And we were really psyched. Holy shit! So we got I think $5,000 or something from Rocket. We did some more demos.
Okay.
At a nice place called TMF, which is I think it's now gone. The Strokes did their second record at TMF. But so, anyway, we did these demos. Everyone was psyched. And then Elton John is playing Madison Square Garden. Like, holy shit. You should really come meet Elton. He wants to meet you. Like, okay.
Okay.
And keep in mind, I'm 20.
Yeah.
Everyone else is like 28, 30.
Yeah.
And we go to the show, but we're there early.
Right.
So everyone says, let's stop at the bar.
Of course.
So we're there, and at one point I realized, hey man, like, shouldn't we go over there?
Right.
And it's embarrassing to say, but it's the truth. We went over there, and we got there, and Elton John was already playing. And we'd gotten very specific instructions. He wants to meet you before. Afterwards, he's gone. Like, he's leaving. You know, he gets off the stage and he's gone.
Oh no.
So we got there, and there was like very close, amazing seats, and we show up and sit there, and the guy from Rocket comes, "Whoa, where were you? He really wanted to meet you. Where were you guys?"
Oh my God.
And I don't know what, I was not the focal person of the situation, but I don't know what I was thinking. We were right around the corner getting shit faced,
Yeah.
So, as I said, a lot of lessons in
When
what
Elton
not
John
to
tells
do.
you to show up, you show up.
I don't know why we just didn't go early. So anyway, so at some point with Longwave, what happened was I started being like, it started honestly like being a little like embarrassing, stuff like that. I would feel really bad.
Yeah.
I thought we really, really blew that.
Right.
And so I started thinking, well, this little thing I'm doing on the side, I'm just going to book it in some of these places where we're playing a scout. And then it start like, as soon as we start booking in better places, people would come to see the band, and then it was like, well, now I have to choose.
I can see all the little things that meet our colors of a different.
Tell me how did you meet the guys in Longwave? How did that all come together?
Let me think. I met the bass player Dave.
Okay.
First.
And you were doing this at the same time you were in Scout, kind of putting together a side project, sort of?
Yeah, I had all kinds of time back then.
Okay.
I don't know where it's amazing when I think back.
Yeah.
I met the bass player Dave first from Longwave, and he was I wasn't sure I wanted to be in a band with Dave. He was from Queens. He was kind of loud, and but he had low tolerance for bullshit, and I liked that about him. Like, he was sharp. Yeah. Not immediately apparently sharp. but I hate to say it, I'm trying not to sound like I'm not like insulting him, but he just he was a different kind of guy that I'd ever met in my life.
Yeah, I met him once, and I remember that
he kind of like he was like, he's from Queens, you know?
Right. Yeah. But
But like, upon growing to know him more, we became really good friends, and then we started playing music, and he would do all these shitty gigs with me, man.
So it was just the two of you for a while?
Yeah, we had other people playing, but he's the only one that we've managed to make it into a thing.
Okay.
The first drummer was an oncologist named Chris Krippus, who I recently saw again a couple years ago. Sweet guy. Yeah. And he said he would tell me, Steve, it's great what you're trying to do, and at some point you're going to need a real drummer, and it's not because I'm not good enough or not because I don't want to do it, but like, you are clearly he was 37, I was 20.
Okay.
And he said, I'm happy whenever you find someone else, like, it's not going to hurt my feelings. I'm ready to do whatever gig you want to do.
Yeah.
He was a very, very sweet guy. And then I met Shannon next. Shannon's the guitar player. And I met him at the job I had at the time on Wall Street, doing like back office shit. And then the drummer Jeremy was from Rochester here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember him too. Yeah.
And then that was the original band. And then we did a record, and we did a bunch of shows. I think we did 100 shows the first year we were a band. I booked every one of them from my my job.
Was it all in New York City, or was it all? No. Like,
we only played once every 6 or 8 weeks in New York.
Really?
We toured. We went to Chicago a couple of times. Went down to the Carolinas, in Atlanta. Went up to Maine. We did this over and over.
This was
I had
before
this
you
crazy
got signed.
idea. Yeah, I did all
So
this.
you did all the stuff.
I don't know where I found the time to do this, but I used to call from the job because you don't have internet. The internet existed, I think, but like that's not how you book shows.
It was in its infancy at that time.
I called the Haunt in Ithaca. Hey,
right.
Oh, sorry you missed her. You got to call back Tuesday between 3 and 5.
Yeah.
Fuck, okay, write myself a little note, and then I call back Tuesday.
I remember that.
Yeah, but I was trying to string it all together. Like, it was difficult, but at the same time, it was like exhilarating, because when you got shit started to happen, you're like, look at this, like, I'm really doing this. And then we got a booking agent, it was a friend of ours called the Shield Divine, a band called Shield Divine. They had this booking agent. I thought that was when you really made it.
Yeah.
You don't have to book your own show anymore, you know, like that you made it.
You got to know the Strokes pretty well. Is that how you got your record deal? Is that how?
Yeah,
like through. I know you got it based on your talent, but
without them, we wouldn't have gotten a record deal. I don't think.
What's the story there?
Maybe a different record deal, but the Strokes guys. So Shannon and Dave from our band, went and saw the Strokes at some really awful place in a basement somewhere, and there was a vibe on the Strokes, and it was like. I don't know. There was a lot of, when I first moved to New York, there was a lot of like, I think there's maybe still is, but there's like posing like urban kind of like, I don't know, just everyone in black and like you're cool. Everyone's trying to be really cool.
Yeah.
So I avoided seeing the Strokes for a while because I thought that was the same shit.
Were they? Did they have a record deal at the time?
No,
Were they signed?
no. I'm talking about when they were just a band around New York.
A New York band.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I knew about them, but I wouldn't really go see them. And then my friend Ryan became their manager.
Okay.
And that was when I first kind of thought maybe I should go see them now.
Yeah.
And then, but at that point, that was when it really started happening for them. And then it wasn't long before, like I think they had a 4-week residency at a club, and Ryan asked me, "Does Longwave want to play opening for the Strokes?"
Sure.
And it was Wednesdays. And at the time, I was like, fuck a Wednesday. We're not playing Wednesdays. And then I just, for whatever reason, I didn't make it until the last show of that residency.
Yeah.
And I showed up, and it was like, you know, people out down the block lined up. And, like, I couldn't believe it. And I got in, and I was like, stupid.
But
they had come to see Longwave, and we knew them now by this point.
Okay.
It was only 2 months or something between then and then.
Right.
It was really short.
Yeah.
But by that point, I had met the guys. They had come see. Ryan brought them to see us. Ryan said, "You guys see, I like these guys a lot. Longwave. You should see them." And so to the Strokes guys' credit, forever until now, even when things were really happening really fast, like they were always really sweet to us, and they would have very complimentary before shit started happening.
Sure.
They were really complimentary.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, and I think when stuff happened really fast for them, it became hard to know. Like, I think it was important to them to have friends around that we were the same dudes still.
Right.
We were happy just to be there.
Right.
And I think they were getting a lot of people kind of maybe kissing their ass.
Sure.
And so I think it was cool that we'd go, and maybe we wouldn't be kissing their ass as much. We'd just hang out.
Right.
And if they didn't want to hang out with us, that was okay. We were okay with that too.
Yeah.
If they were on, because they were on the first tour we did with them, they were on like a worldwide, like 3-month, 4-month tour. And it was like their first, they had done some couple week tours, but.
So where did you go with them? Like, they basically said, we're going to take you guys on tour with us as our opening act.
So we had a record we had done, not on a small label, and we were kind of floundering at that point. We didn't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And we had made an EP, and I don't think it was done yet. And Ryan called me up and said, the Strokes are going out, we're doing America, and we're doing Europe, a bunch of Australia stuff, but we're also doing UK. If you want to do the American and the UK dates, keep in mind they were doing a bunch of shit in between.
Right.
It was the same tour for them. They went around the world.
Okay, yeah.
But we did the American and the UK dates, and he said the only thing is you guys got to have something to sell, put out, like a release. There's got to be some story I can say for you guys. Because
Right.
if you don't have any, like you have no music to sell, that stuff's 2 years old. Like I'm going to call another band.
Yeah, right.
And I said, okay. And I got off the phone. I was like, we got to finish this thing, So, we really got our shit together to do those tours.
How much time did you have to get that stuff together before the tour started?
I can't remember. We may have had it done. We needed Impressed. I know that.
Yeah.
We had to get some of our act together for sure.
How many did you?
Maybe had like maybe 2 months, a month.
So how many copies of something does one press when one is going out with the Strokes?
I still have a huge box. They're over there. I'll give you one.
Okay.
I still have a huge box of them.
So a lot.
I don't remember how many Shannon did all that.
Did you sell a lot when you were out with them?
Yes.
Did you? Good. Well,
yeah, but Shannon was dealing with it though.
Yeah.
I was still the booking agent.
Okay.
At this point.
Okay.
And I was. I think we had to get a crew together. We had to get just one. I think our crew was one guy.
Okay.
Or maybe two guys, but I called my friend John Crook, who had a band called Jolene, and we had done a touring with Jolene. And I said, look, I know you're not a tour manager, but you're our buddy, and this is going to be a hell of a lot of fun. Do you want to come and just like make sure we get to places on time? And he's like, yeah, I'll come. I don't even know if we paid him. He was just happy to.
Wow.
It wasn't that long of a trip for us. It was like maybe 2.5 weeks in the U.S. and then same in the UK.
Okay.
Separated by maybe a month and a half in the middle.
Yeah. Was that your first time overseas?
No, I had been to London by myself.
Okay.
But this was first time to play.
What was it?
It was
like?
my second time.
What was that like? I mean, what was it like touring over there? Was it? What were the audiences?
It's never been the same for us ever since that.
Yeah.
They were like, I mean, it's hard to overstate how crazy it was for them at that moment.
Yeah.
Everybody thought they were the next Nirvana.
Oh,
Everybody
sure.
thought they were the biggest. They were gonna be the biggest
No, I
band
remember.
in the world.
I remember. They were like, there was a huge buzz on the Strokes. Like, they're the next big thing. This is going to be huge.
Yeah. I mean, I saw shows where Julian, the singer, would lean over the barricade and like he's on the barricade. He's singing. There's thousands of people, and he puts his hand on the top of this girl's head, and he props himself up, and he sings over the people. Yeah. And I'm looking and thinking, that girl's going to hit him. But I look at her face, and she's like,
like thrilled to death.
She's ecstasy.
He touched me.
Yeah. And so, it was like they could just do no wrong at that moment.
Right.
But so when you were asking about Longwave getting a record deal, that was the environment in which we started talking to record labels. And so their publicist, Jim Merlis, I believe, had wanted to co-manage them with Ryan, my friend. Ryan was a young guy, and Jim was a little older, more experienced. Jim had done press for Nirvana. Jim was a real somebody.
The real thing, okay.
So, but Ryan had a lot of balls and said, no, I'm managing these guys myself. So Jim, I don't know whether he just wanted to manage a band or it was just the timing was right, but he became our manager. Okay. And because he was kind of a somebody, he was able, like the next time we played in New York, it was sold out.
Wow. Okay.
Because of him.
Yeah.
You know, and I he did a ticket buy, and then he also got people just to show up somehow. I don't know how he did it. But he really made it happen. And then we did that on that Strokes US tour. We had people from Universal Records flying out to the Houston show, and then they flew out again to the Minneapolis show because they weren't sure they convinced us, you know. Yeah. And there was a lot of funny kind of like the Universal guy. I shouldn't say who they were, but those guys were like, those guys showed up and they took us to dinner and they said, if you sign with us, we can get you a tour bus, and we get you like a 4-track in the back. You can like work on ideas, And I remember in my mind thinking like, this is like the scout shit again, but this time I'm smarter than they are. Right? Yeah. Like not smarter than they are in the world, but in this situation, they don't. I mean, they should know that we recorded our own first record, which we did. Shannon had engineered it. It sounds great. Right. I still think it sounds good. Yeah. And we don't need the 4-track, and we're not stupid enough to think that you're going to pay for that bus. Right. We know who's paying for that bus.
Yeah, you are.
So we're sitting there, and in honest, all honesty, we had met with other labels, but the Strokes label was RCA, and Jim knew people at RCA because he was also the press for the Strokes. Yeah. He did the press for the Strokes as well. Okay. Even though he wasn't their manager, and so. Once we went with one of the RCA guys and he told us, we said, who do you want to make your record with? And we said, Dave Fredman. He said, I think that's perfect. Everybody else said, who? Yeah, so we knew right away we were going to sign with RCA. And they were masterful. I've never seen, I wish I could see it again in my career, my life. But Jim and our lawyer, Rosemary, who's also the Strokes lawyer, we basically just pulled their team. You pulled
the Strokes team in, so yeah.
Okay. And they just like, they had RCA, which became our label, and then 2 other labels, Universal and Warner Brothers. And they had, Rosemary said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to send them the contract. This is what we want. And then, that's it. And I said, really? Can you do that? It's like, yeah. I mean, what they're going to say, no? And they didn't. Wow. Because, like I said, I think this is the environment because the Strokes were so hot. And this is only a couple months later. Okay. Their record had just come out like maybe 5 months ago at this point. Yeah. Not even 4 months. So this was January and this record came out in September. So I think that it was just like masterful timing on their part. Yeah. And we already knew we were going to go with RCA, but they said, we're going to like leverage, we're going to make RCA think, we're talking to other people. And I think it came down to like a matter of like less than 2 weeks. Really? Where at one point it was like, we're sending the contracts and we're talking, see what kind of money we can get from the disc label. And then like less than 2 weeks later, it was like, I think they're going to back out.
Yeah.
Like now we go to RCA.
Right. And what year was this?
2001. No, 2002.
2002.
2001,
Okay.
2002.
Okay.
Like over the winter.
Yeah.
But like I say, like they really like it was like if they had waited another 2 weeks, I don't think we would have gotten as good of a record deal from RCA because they would have gotten the idea that these other labels have backed off.
Yeah. Okay.
But if we had done it earlier, they were so good at
It's
it. Mike.
funny how
like,
people know how to manipulate the system like that. It's crazy, isn't it?
I don't know how much of that exists anymore. Maybe where you are in Nashville, because people still make money selling records. doing
Yeah,
that.
but it's not. There's
in rock
nowhere near
anymore.
what it was like before.
But that was our experience, and that's how we ended up with the label, and that's how I don't think, even though the Strokes personally, I do think they liked us, and they told their label people this band Longwave's really good.
Yeah.
I actually do think that probably happened, but it was because we were probably ready to do it, and we were good enough, but it wouldn't have happened the same way without the Strokes.
I've run in all directions.
And so you had Dave Fridman produced it, and he was the guy that did all the Flaming Lips stuff.
Yeah, at that point he had done the Flaming Lips records and Mercury Rev records, and he had done a lot of other stuff that was cool, but that was like his biggest records. Those were his biggest records.
Yeah.
At that point. But then later on he went on to do MGMT stuff, OK Go stuff. He did the singer from Incubus' solo record. He did some Crowded House, Neil Finn stuff.
Really?
He did...
Huge Neil Finn fan. I love him.
Yeah. A great Sparkle Horse. He did Sparkle Horse, which I love.
Okay, that's a great band too.
Yeah. So he's still my favorite.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, we got him to do it, and that was. But we already knew him. Again, I don't know where we got all the balls to do this kind of stuff. But even before we were talking to, even before we went toward the Strokes, in that year or two, we were on tour all the time.
Right.
We just called him up, and we were going. He's in Fredonia.
Is that where he is, really?
Yeah, it's Casadega is the town,
Okay.
tiny town.
Yeah,
outside
I know
of
where
Fredonia.
that. I know right where that is. Yeah.
That's where the studio is. That's where he does everything. Everybody, you got to go to him. That's where you go record.
That's great.
So we were go to gig in Buffalo. Let's go see Dave Fridman.
Yeah.
Can we go see Dave Fridman?
Yeah.
Why not? Let's call him up.
Right.
So we called him up and was like, we were thinking about, we'd love to do some recording. And I don't really understand how he agreed, but we went over there and we were in his studio, and I can't remember who was recording. I think Rev was there.
Yeah.
Someone real band was in there recording. And then there's these punk kids in their little van.
Yeah.
But, on the other hand, it worked out because, we were certain we
Right.
were going to record with him.
Right,
When
right.
we were talking about, first time we had some money to spend on a record, we were certain it was going to be with him.
So you did three records with RCA?
Two
Records with RCA.
Yeah, and there was a bunch of other EP things in between.
Yeah.
By the time the second one was happening, they were going through a merger with Sony, and it was like...
Was it a nightmare being on a major label, or was it good? Was it
No,
good
it was
for you?
great.
It was good.
It was
Yeah,
great.
Yeah.
It was great.
'Cause I've heard horror stories, from all sorts
I
of people.
think it's because we were set up so well
from
the
Jump
start.
Street.
Yeah. Our deal was really good, and
Did I just say from Jump Street? I just said from Jump Street.
Johnny Depp was our A&R guy.
What the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Who am I?
No, it was good.
Steve, were you going there from Jump Street? Was it?
Yeah. You turn left on Jump Street.
Okay, good. Was it 21 Jump Street, 22 Jump Street? Good God.
Oh, I got the address wrong. Shit.
So, were you headlining stuff for those
No.
3 years? You were like doing opening slots and that kind of thing.
I'm trying to remember, but I think at one point we decided we opened for a lot of different bands and became friends with bands, and but at one point we told our managers we wanted to start doing our own shows more often. Obviously, like if we got offered to open a band that we loved or that was really popular, we would do it. But we wanted to do stuff on our own because we would go to these places. You see, like, coming soon, you see the bands, and you realize it's going to say OK Go up there. It's not going to say OK Go and Longwave.
Right, yeah.
And we wanted it to say coming soon Longwave.
Longwave, right.
So, and that actually turned out to be really smart because we got a really good sense of how much the band was worth, like in different cities.
Yeah.
And we were able to go back, and it started being... like we were worth something. We go to Seattle and we know we'd make this much money. We know this many people would show up.
Yeah.
We had no idea of when you're opening for people.
Right.
So and that made it more of a solid thing for a while, you know.
Right.
Maybe even, you know, it probably still means something now. If we were to do some more shows now, I don't know.
Are you guys technically still together, or is it?
Yeah, we never
really
broke
broke up. It's just sort of.
Shannon left the band, and that was it. I didn't want to do it anymore. So Shannon, but he had a kid, and he didn't want to be on the road.
What's he doing now? Though
he still does music stuff.
Does he?
Yeah,
Okay.
he and I both he did some music for Dora the Explorer.
Really? Okay.
He did some commercials for Google recently, and he's recorded bands. He's produced a couple records.
Yeah.
But you know, in more recent times, he's brought up the idea of playing again.
Oh, okay, cool.
So it's harder for us to get everything together now.
Well, you have a family now too. So
I have a family now.
Yeah.
And it's just again, I don't know where I found all the time.
Yeah. So how did when
Harder now.
towards when you guys were sort of stopping, kind of like, is that when the Hurricane Bells thing kind of came about? Tell me how that came about.
Yeah, Hurricane Bells was a bunch of songs that didn't fit with Longwave, or that we tried and no one liked. So
It's not always the thing.
Yeah, I'm sure you can relate.
I've had that experience. My first solo record that way.
Well, exactly.
Nobody
That's exactly what it was. So like you played a bunch of songs and Jake makes a face at you. You're
That's
like,
it.
well, we're not going to play this
Nobody
song
liked
then.
them. They loved them after the record came out.
I can relate to that too.
Why didn't you present these songs to us? No, I did. You hated them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
so right. So in the Hurricane Bells thing was really just I had broken up with this girl, and it was like a breakup record in my mind. And
Yeah.
I didn't really intend to do. I didn't know what I was doing with it. I did it just because
You played everything on that.
I played everything on it.
Yeah.
But not like drum programming. Like I played the drums on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a
because
real.
you're also a great drummer, you asshole.
I don't know about great. I can do what I need.
What aren't you good at?
Well, so yeah, so that thing,
Sorry.
and it was only one of the extra songs was used in one of these Twilight movies, and all of a sudden stuff started happening, and we needed like, okay, well, who's Hurricane Bells? Like, I don't know. You know, a month ago, or a week ago, I didn't have that name, so it was really, really fast. Shit started happening, and then the song that they used was a Longwave song.
So yeah, they put your song in the Twilight New Moon.
Yeah, but it was
movie.
a song that we had tried in Longwave. There exists a Longwave version of that song.
Of Monsters, really?
Yeah, Monsters is the name of the song. Yeah, and it's it's not as good, and we never finished. We never, everyone was kind of like, this song,
right?
And I didn't really like how we were doing it either, so I just kind of put it away. And then, I had nothing better to do than just like try it myself,
right,
with my M box, which is less sophisticated than what we're recording on right now.
Yeah,
and that's all the stuff that the New Moon song was done on this like $200 piece of recording gear.
Wow. So,
Two wins.
what's the woman's name who is it
Stephanie
Meyer? Is that what?
Yeah.
Was she?
No, I don't think she had anything to do with it.
Somebody told me that she handpicks all the music for she handpicked all the music for those films.
I
or whatever.
don't think so. There's a woman named Alex Patsavas, and she's she does music supervision for a lot of all the Twilight stuff. I think the Hunger Games stuff, and then and on TV it was all Grey's Anatomy, all the stuff that you hear,
that
like
you want
your music in. Like
right.
it was usually her behind it.
Okay, so
she was the one that did that picked the song.
Were you you were still signed to RCA at the time, or you? No. So did that all come about just from people that you knew through the Longwave situation? So okay,
yeah, I still had the same publishing deal.
So, okay. So your publisher got you the Twilight thing. How did that must have changed a lot for you?
Yes. yeah, it was good. It was good. It just because of mostly just because it was good for money. Yeah. Like I was really, really broke when that happened. Right. I mean, I think I had probably $40 to my name. Wow. I was broke.
And that record went like
and I was in debt.
Quadruple platinum or something like that, or ridiculous. Like
I have a platinum record in my studio now.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I called my old job is what happened. Yeah. The job I had when I quit to be in Longwave. Yeah. I called that guy again. And he's like, "Wow, you really must need work." Yeah. And I went back, and it was much, 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 much worse. Because all the guys I had worked for were all like VPs and shit now. Okay. I mean, they had offered me this stuff too, but I was like, I don't want to do this shit. Right. I'm in a band. Right. But those guys continued on. Yeah. And like there were all these other underlings, and then underlings of underlings, and then I worked in the basement of some other underling, people didn't even want to be there in the first place.
Sure.
I was really, really horrible. And I was there for about 2 weeks, and then I got the phone call from my manager. Like, you remember that song you gave your publisher?
Yeah.
No. No, I don't.
Which one?
What, which one?
Yeah.
Monsters. Okay, I know that song. They want to use it for a movie. Okay, cool. Don't tell. Is it done? No. Don't tell me about it.
Yeah. Right.
And so then 2 days later, like, okay, they need this edit of the song. Okay, I'll go out to my studio and make the edit, and because I'm the way I am, when I mastered the song, I got paid for it, mastered, like I really did, like it was a real record.
Right.
And I had done all the instrumentals and everything. So I took the instrumental and I chopped it up the way they wanted, and I sent it to them.
Yeah.
And they said, okay, great, we need a different one. We need it longer at the start because the protagonist is going to walk on screen in slow motion. Like, okay, what movie is this?
Yeah, right.
And they said, Twilight. And I said, okay, I think I've heard of the Twilight.
Holy crap, yeah.
No, I had no idea.
Oh, you had no idea?
No, I had no idea.
Wasn't the
The first one, yeah,
the second movie, right?
But I'm like
well,
indie rock guy in New York City.
Yeah.
Is it a Pixies record? Like, anyway, and I told the people upstairs from the studio, it was a house, and I told them, I'm down there doing these. What are you doing there? Oh, I'm doing some edits for this song of mine that's going to be in this Twilight movie. Yeah, what? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, right. Yeah, people probably were like...
Yeah. So they told me that it was a big deal.
So that gave you probably a whole new fan base.
No, not really. I mean, yeah, for a little while, for sure.
Yeah.
It was like we do all these shows in malls and shit. It was a different fan base than I think you're thinking about. No, we did like shows at Hot Topics. Seriously. Yeah.
Wow.
And like, they would come out and like teenagers, like 10-year-old, 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
Like, and I'd come out, and the only other songs we had to play besides Monsters were my breakup record songs. So it was comical. Because like we'd play and like you see these like confused looks,
sad
like, what
faces.
are we doing?
Yeah.
But pretty quickly I realized like I'll just play like we'll do all the songs with guitar solos. And that worked.
That's great.
Because I could play the guitar, So it's like, well, like that's at least something. Even if I'm singing about how shitty my year was, like,
right,
I play the guitar solo and everyone kind of gets excited, and like, so it all works out, But it was kind of like,
that's insane.
They picked the wrong guy in a way, but in a way, it was like the song was perfect for what they needed, I guess. So. Sure. And anyway. We got to go to Japan and we got to go to India. So besides for the few of those experiences, the only other real, just honestly, the best thing about it was the fact that I didn't have a record deal, and it brought enough money where I could pay off the debt I had. Like I bought a bunch of gear for a studio, set up the studio, which is where I still make my living now. Right. Yeah. So it changed things for me because of that.
That's crazy.
Like it was a real lottery kind of moment. Yeah. You know what I mean? But it wasn't until, just to bring it back around, it wasn't until we were in India and Jason Molina was playing drums in Hurricane Bells. Jason became the drummer in Longwave. Jason and Anthony was there too. Okay. And I guess they were, one night they pulled out the Longwave version of the song. Oh, okay. And I guess Jason was like, yeah, we did this song. This is a Longwave song. And they pulled it out and they were like, what the hell is this shit? It was not the same.
I'd love to hear that, actually.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. It's not good.
It's not good.
No.
You've done a lot of playing for other people as well, right? So you've been a sort of I don't want to use the word sideman.
Yeah. Just
you played with Albert Hammond a little bit.
Yeah, those came along at times where I needed money, and it was like it wasn't like, I don't want to say it like I didn't enjoy it, but it was just making a living.
Do you get a lot of calls like that still for
Not
people looking
really,
for people?
No, I've kind of. No, that's not true. There was our old A&R guy said there's a nude. I can tell you the name. I can't remember the name. I'll find it.
A nude band.
A nude band.
A nude band.
I'm going to wear the shower curtain.
Good for you. That's good for you.
So it still comes around once in a while, but I don't do it anymore because we have a family now, and it's easier for me to. I make more money at home too.
Yeah. So you just re-recording right now and that kind of thing.
It's like commercials. I've done the score for some movies, and so that. Oh, okay. My friend Bill has got a new short movie he's doing. That's the next thing I'm doing in January. Oh, cool. But yeah, it's easier to justify doing like your own music for me. It's easier to justify it to my wife. because it's like it's equity.
Well,
like
right.
you're working, like you're building the house. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like,
yeah, you're not just helping someone else achieve their end goal.
right. And there's nothing wrong with that either. But for us, it's demanding.
Yeah.
So for me to go away, it ain't easy to work out anymore.
Well, she's. I mean, I don't think I've met her yet, but she's.
Yeah, you'll meet her. She's upstairs.
She's got to be strong, a strong woman. To
Yeah. Huge biceps. Huge biceps. Yeah, put it with me. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not. I've talked to other people about this. It's not. It can't be easy to maintain a relationship. And
no. Well, she used to. You can probably relate to this as well. She early on in our relationship, she would ask me, "Well, so what's your plan?" Right. I'm like, "Well, this is it.
Yeah.
I don't know how to. Well, what are you gonna do? Like, well." I'm probably going to work on some new music until someone calls me for something else. And then if I get enough music together, I'll put a record together and I'll call someone to do something for my music.
Right.
And this is just the plan. And you tell her that. And she's like, she came from a business school.
Okay. So very much
originally. Yeah. And she was like, that's not a plan.
Yeah.
Like, well, that's the plan. I don't know what to tell you. And so it took a long time for her to kind of get the understanding that it's more of a long-term, like if you're in it, you're just in it.
Well, yeah, you can't help it.
Yeah, it's a disease.
It's something
But
like
it's like,
that.
it's not like I'm going to do this and then in 6 months this shit's going to happen.
Right.
You're like, I'm going to do this and
then maybe.
hope, and then like, but maybe what I've found is if you work hard and you keep doing good work, you'll have more work, like
Sure.
And
work begets more work. That's how it is in Nashville too.
And even more specifically, the kind of work you do, that kind of work will come along, which is important to understand, because if you're a guy that does sideman stuff for years and years and years, then you try to talk about your original music to someone, they're gonna like, yeah, okay, maybe I'll listen to it, and maybe they'll listen to it. But like, if you hold hard to like, and I do this,
right.
like, even if it's harder, it ends up being, if there's any success, you'll get asked for more of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's the same thing with the jingle and TV stuff too, where I started doing that stuff, and then eventually realized, well, that's a way I can make money while I'm doing this other things that I want to do. Do you know about Harvard of the South? You know about this band?
It's with the guys from Blue October.
Yeah, so this is like a side thing that's been happening for a little while, and that's the current thing
you're doing.
Yeah,
I think I've seen little snippets of it, but I'm not sure. What's it like?
It's rocking,
Yeah.
I'm the only guitar player, and it's me, the singer and drummer and bassist from the band Blue October.
Okay, so you and Justin and
me, Justin, Jeremy, and Matt.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I've always liked. I love the stuff you did with the Blue October. I love Justin. Just he's an intense dude, man.
Totally intense.
Yeah.
He can do shit with his voice that I can't. I don't have a prayer of doing. So I played on a couple of their records. This is why I brought it up, because I did some guitar stuff for them, and they were like, "Well, how much do we pay you?" and all this stuff. And I was very much like, like, I don't want to be the guitar guy to them. They already knew Longwave, and they were like, So I thought, we're friends,
Yeah.
And then it actually worked out. It ended up being much more enjoyable in the end, because what happened was I went and saw them play, and I said, what, like maybe me, you, and you should do some writing or something together.
I was at one of the first gigs you did with those guys down in Tampa. I was like, you were on. I think you did a short.
It was the first one.
Stint.
Yeah,
It was like
and
the first
Keith
gig.
was playing guitar because Shannon was.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
They're such good guys, and Jeremy especially has become a good friend of mine. They're all great, and we're all friends.
I remember Justin. Like, I think we went backstage real briefly. I remember him just gushing.
Did you see the note? I think it was he left us a big note on the door and said, "I can't believe you guys are on tour with us. It's so great."
I did see that. I remember him
man.
just gushing, like being like, "You guys are my favorite."
They're really sweet. They're really sweet. So
that's cool.
That's like a, Anyway, that's happening.
So are you doing a record with those guys? Or?
It's done.
Oh, it's done.
I'll send it to you.
Oh, cool.
It's not out yet.
Okay.
We did this tour in November for 2 weeks, opening for Blue October.
Oh, so you guys?
I really got into the Blue October world. So it's
their fans are really like
that is
pretty
what
hardcore, which is crazy.
They're great fans.
Yeah,
the Blue October guys are very fortunate, and they know they're fortunate to have that kind of they just want to know like what everybody in the band's doing, like perfect fans.
Yeah.
So
man, I get emotional with some of that stuff because I watched a clip. I watched a clip of, I think it was Justin singing that song "Stay."
I played on that.
Yeah, I know you played on that. I love that. That's one of my favorite things still that like by them that they've done.
Yeah.
And that's like I was going through a pretty rough period with some relationship stuff. And that song, I not ashamed to admit it. I put that on every day.
Yeah.
For a good solid month and cried every single day.
I don't know if you know that he bled on that record. How you might want to put it. Like there's a song called "The Worry List" on there.
Yep.
That is my favorite song that they have, and it's all true. I mean, like he that whole record is about his divorce and his daughter, and he just put it all out there.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, it's all true. It's all like when you hear it, like it's honesty, and that song in particular, the "Worry List" song, like. I get choked up when I hear him sing it because there's stories that he told me about like all these heavy fucking things. So anyway, I thought that'd be a hell of a lot of fun to make a record like that.
Let's go make a record with that guy.
When there's no hidden chest, there's no sunken treasure.
Yeah. Well, I get that from your stuff too. Like very honest. You're a very honest writer.
Thanks.
You know?
It's different, probably, maybe, but
yeah, it's different. But it's I especially the Hurricane Bell stuff. It's very much
that's closer.
like I love the Longwave stuff, but it seems like there's more layers of disguise in the Longwave stuff than you know. And I mean that in a
sometimes with the
fashion.
Longwave stuff, the words have to be different because it's got to sound cool. I mean, not to be a dick, but like it's got to sound right.
It's the sounds of the words.
Serious. I mean, sometimes the song will be the guitar line is the basis of the song, and you're like, well, it's not the I only have 2 verses and this is it. This is the song. The arrangement's done.
Right. I'm
not going to develop a narrative over the it's just gotta sound cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Plenty of our songs like that.
What do you what's something that you're most proud of that you've done? Like what's the one thing you look at and you say, wow, that is where I hit my mark on in every way, shape, or form.
Well, I gotta tell you, there's a new instrumental Hurricane Bells record that I don't know what I'm gonna do with. That is my favorite thing.
Really?
I really love it.
Instrumental.
Yeah. It's just a Hurricane Bells record because it's the same guys that ended up playing for the last couple of years. I love that record. It's brand new.
Yeah.
I've been trying to finish stuff. We have a new baby coming. Do you know that?
Yeah, I knew that. Yeah. Congratulations. That's awesome.
So I've been trying to finish a bunch of music, which is why the Hots, Howard of the South stuff and this other
I think
stuff.
that's what I've always respected about you so much is that you don't tend to look back very often. I've kind of noticed that you always kind of focused on what's coming next and and you've amassed a really impressive body of work, man. Like it's kind of like it just keeps.
Thanks.
I'm glad to see that things are still moving forward and things are
it's
still
amazing,
coming.
right? It's amazing.
It is because I have a hard time with that. Sometimes I'm sort of stuck on
we're gonna get to that in a minute. I'm gonna turn it around in a minute whenever you're ready.
Oh no!
Or maybe you're ready now.
I'm always ready.
Well, I've been thinking about this a lot because I knew we were gonna be talking today.
Yeah.
There's songs. So if I don't know if you're gonna edit this out or not, you might get embarrassed.
Maybe. No, probably not. Maybe.
So okay. Well. So if my perspective, I only have my perspective on anything, right?
Sure.
So my perspective is that I was a 14-year-old kid here in Rochester, and your song was on the radio.
Yeah.
And then my dad's friend, who had recorded me in his little home studio, also brought his demos to Tony Gross.
Okay, which was my manager at the time and producer of the records I was.
And my dad's friend really wanted Tony to either, I don't know, maybe to give him advice or like help him finish the recordings.
Sure,
I don't know.
Sure.
But in the process, he said, and there's this kid that has been coming over.
Yeah.
And he played for Tony, and Tony said, I guess, I really want to meet this kid.
Yeah.
So through Tony, I met you guys.
Right.
And this is like, to me, like you guys were like, you were real stars. You're on the radio.
Yeah.
No, but to me, it was really incredible. And then I went and saw you guys play at, I believe, like a state fair.
Yeah.
And I remember a few very specific things. I remember that you were all very, very nice to me.
Yeah.
And then you had to leave to go change into your stage clothes, you said.
I got to put our stage clothes on.
Those were your words. I got to change into my stage
God.
clothes. I thought, wow.
You too someday can have your very own set of stage
And I just
clothing.
remember, like, okay, well, I'm going to go sit with my dad. Or maybe it was my mom, I think. I don't remember. We sat, and I remember the stage was dark.
Yeah.
And I remember all the rack unit stuff,
Sure,
the lights on the amps, and Anthony's tuner going back and forth in the rack.
Right.
Like, wow. You know, I could not believe how awesome this was.
I know you were a musician because you like lights.
I was totally overwhelmed by how awesome it was. And so, yeah, and you played. I don't remember anything about you guys playing, to be honest.
Yeah.
I remember the spectacle of it was so intense for me. And then my mom, so Tony used to take me to your shows. My mom would take me to see you play. She dropped me off, like on school nights.
Sure.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
I was 14. And Tony would say, don't worry, I got him. Like, I'll make sure he doesn't drink or anything. But I had no intention of, I was just there. Like, I was like, agog, like watching.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember seeing you play at the Horizontal Boogie Bar.
Yeah.
And you guys played Stranded with the sequence.
Sure, yeah.
And I remember that was the first time I heard the song. There's a sequence like, who's playing that? This is amazing.
It's magic.
It really was magical. And then, you know, like, and I remember all these milestones in the band's career. Anthony cut his hair.
Oh yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
You know,
we
and
were a
then,
bunch
like,
of long hairs back in.
Yeah, there's all
crazy.
these big. And then somewhere along the way, this is the truly amazing part of my story with Exploding Boy is that I asked you. I don't know how I got the balls to ask you to do this, but you played the bass at my high school talent show. So keep in mind, you were like, in my mind, it was like asking Bono to come down and play the bass in your high school talent show. You were on the radio.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Like, I don't know where I got the balls. But this was really like, I have a picture upstairs.
I know.
Of you with long hair playing the precision,
bass.
Anthony's bass.
Yeah. I remember that.
And my hair is long and embarrassing, and I'm playing my Strat.
And we won. So, yeah, I remember that. I remember just thinking, yeah, that'll be fun. That's like, why not? You know? When was that?
95 or
95 or something like that. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, 90, not later than 95.
Okay. See, I remember you.
Not earlier than 94.
I remember you as very gracious young gentleman who the records had a lot of effects on the guitars, and you had learned all the parts without like you like I had a delay pedal doing half the work for me, and you learned the parts with you didn't have a delay pedal.
I didn't know that was a delay pedal. I thought this guy Mike's a badass.
Well,
I better learn his shit.
And that blew me away when you showed up with your Strat and went, "Oh, I learned this song that had all this slapback delay on it that was going tick tick tick," and you learned the part without the
Yeah, that was tough.
Well, then I think we like it became a thing where we were like, we got to get Steve up to play because man, you just were you were this 14-year-old kid. The guitar was bigger than you, and you just were like shred away and blow people away. It was awesome.
I don't remember playing. I would black out.
I've blocked that part of my life.
Well,
out.
no, I just remember thinking, oh my god, there's people here. I got to play. There are people here.
Yeah, you always killed it.
I was a kid.
Was, yeah.
I was just impressed with the whole, like, they have road cases.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yep. And every bit as broke as everybody else.
I didn't know. No, I remember you drove me home from, I think I went over to rehearse. We did play that All Along the Watchtower.
Yeah.
And I remember you drove me home in the van. The band van.
The band van.
Yeah. And I don't remember. I think at the time, me and my friend had been playing music together, and I was like, well, I wrote these songs, but he says he wrote part of the song. And you were like, well, if you wrote the song, then it's very difficult. You have a band. You got to decide what you want to do.
Right.
It was like pretty heady conversation for a kid
Sure.
to be having.
Yeah.
But you were very, very nice about it. We go through this in our band too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I was like, really?
Split the writing up. Yeah.
Well, it was very educational, the whole thing.
That's crazy.
And then I had all these bootleg tapes of you guys that I would listen to. I wore them out. I listened to them so much. I'm sure I still have them too. And I had demos of yours. I had Borderlands. I loved that song.
Oh God. Yeah, I remember now. Yeah,
I think you should play that song.
Oh, man,
I can still have that song in my head.
it's still I'm so it just makes me happy to hear this, but I'm so proud still of all that you've accomplished and achieved, man. It's ridiculous, and it's like and there's there's no more deserving or sweeter guy in the world than you. And we can sit here and just stroke each other more, and but I want to hear. I want
to make sure we got that thing with the high school talent show out in the open.
Yeah, okay, that's good. As long as we have that.
I know it's audio, but if you could somehow make that picture.
If you get me the picture, I'll post it wherever we get this stuff up
really?
and put it up.
Yeah. I'll find it. I know it's upstairs.
Yeah, I want you to play a couple things for me if you don't mind.
Shit. All right.
Oh yeah. I want you to play for me, Steve. Let me I'm gonna turn this mic around and put one on your guitar and one on the.
Do you have a pick?
I don't.
I'm not ready for this moment.
You're not?
No, I am.
That's too bad.
I'll play with my fingers.
Let's do.
This is a Hurricane Bell song. Everything's going right. The room is warm, morning light. Tell me who could ask for more. The sun is up, it's all I'm waiting for. It's all I'm waiting for. Sometimes I try to pretend that things are now as they were then, before you started running to a distant shore where the sun is up. It's all you're waiting for. It's all you're waiting for. It's all you're waiting. But how you gonna get to where you wanna be? And how you gonna find it when you're lost at sea? It's never gonna lift you up, never gonna fill your cup. Oh, so how you gonna get to where you wanna be? Everything is going right. The room is warm, morning light. I'd really love to see you knocking at my door. The sun is up, it's all I'm waiting for. It's all I'm waiting for.
Awesome, man. Steve, thank you so much, man. I'm honored that you wanted to talk to me today. So thanks for
sweat.
I'm
happy to see you. I'm happy to just get to hang out.
I love you, buddy. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Right on.
Yeah, that's good. I hope you guys enjoyed that talk as much as I did. I had an awesome time there with Steve, and it was fun to reminisce and talk about all the things we did. And Steve's had an incredible career, and I'm just so proud of him. You can find all the music featured on today's show by Steve Schiltz's various projects, Scout, Longwave, and Hurricane Bells, on iTunes or your favorite online digital music retailer. The Harvard of the South EP called Miracle is only available as a physical copy online at the moment, so do a search for Harvard of the South on Facebook to link to their merch page, and you can find it there. It will be available in February in digital and other formats as well, and the full Harvard of the South LP will be available later in 2015. Our official website, tiopod.com, is coming soon, so stay tuned for that. And you can also look us up on Facebook. Just do a search for Turn It On Podcast, and you'll find us there. Give us a like, tell your friends, and thanks again for tuning in, y'all. I appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoy what's going on so far. There's tons more to come. Thanks again for tuning in, everybody. Thanks again for listening. I appreciate it. Much, much more to come. Stick around, and I will catch you on the flip side.